just interesting that there's someone with exactly the same name working at NASA, isn't it, that was killed?
I don't know. Is it junior,
Maybe.
senior? I mean, come on.
This guy seems like an opportunist, Spurs.
Yeah, definitely was. Definitely. I know what you mean, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, taking someone else's
Identity.
background.
Yeah, definite prankster was. You've got it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, go on, do the Aussie accent so you can dismiss what I'm saying.
Nah,
Yeah,
you're
for real,
really
though.
great, was. It
Let's
definitely
say
sounds like it.
Yeah, go ahead, do it some more.
Well, I'm just saying,
Alright,
was. It sounds totally right. About right.
Yeah, there you go, a bit more. Keep going.
Come on.
Keep going, mate. Don't
For real,
stop
though.
there,
Okay,
you
so you have
whacker.
this David Beverly
You big
Senior.
galah.
At what point does David Beverly become David Beverly Senior? When he has a kid,
Yes.
and he
When
has
he
David
has-
Beverly Jr.
When
That's
he has
correct.
an adult
Presented.
child.
Okay.
When he has a child who becomes an adult. I mean,
Okay, but then at that point, wouldn't he just be David Beverly, and the other one is David Beverly Jr.? Or does he legally change his name to David Beverly Senior, or how does it work?
no idea.
Do you have to legally change it if you have a kid and call him Junior?
No, it's just unwritten.
Or
Yeah,
can
but
you just
He's
use
already
the
called
title
Junior,
Junior?
so it would just
Suffix is
be
not-
redundant to change yours
The
to
suffix
Senior.
is not part of your name, just like Mr. is not on your driver's license.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, exactly.
it's just something to distinguish
There-
between you and the other person with the.
Nobody's
exact same
driver's
name who
license
live in the
says
same
John-
house.
Nobody's driver's license says John Smith Senior or Junior.
Look, we've got the flat
Well,
Earth
sometimes it
brothers.
has like, I
You-
for the second or something like that.
You don't
Fire
put
for
the
brothers.
first or the second on your driver's license or on your birth certificate.
Flat Earther brothers
Yeah,
are
you can.
massive in this community. Okay, now
You
I'm
can,
sure
but
they
you're
would have done all their background checks, okay, to make sure that this current, up-to-date interview was what it's supposed to be. Because obviously you're not going to make us look bad. Now I understand you're looking
Yeah.
for a reason.
I mean, would you say you trust this guy? Do you think he's trustworthy?
Yeah, I mean he's given us the information.
Yeah!
Have you listened to his testimony? Why would he lie? Why would he lie?
I think he's produced some evidence. It seems that he worked at NASA. So
Mm.
I think we
It's all
should
in the
trust
video. I said this is
Yeah.
I said this morning, this is massive.
his evidence that he worked at NASA is a photo of him standing in Antarctica. Oh,
Pretty good
now
evidence,
what are we gonna
right?
do? Now what are we gonna do? Do we trust him? Do we not trust him? What do we? Is he
Well,
right?
Antarctica.
Well, he told me how he
Excuse me,
worked for
right?
NASA. Well, not me specifically, but we.
So wait, Jem, are you discarding your earlier theory?
Well, I mean, this isn't very convincing yet, but yeah, I guess I am.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the fair thing. I mean, they've got to think of something though. Percent. You know, they've got to look for an anomaly of reason why this is not what we say.
So let me get this straight. You'll trust some guy called David who claims he works at NASA,
No, I trust the Flat Earth brothers. They interviewed.
but we trust no photos from space.
No, yeah,
or
listen,
credible
it's like
people.
if Percent
No?
had an interview, I would trust Percent. Okay, so if any Flat Earthers had an interview, like when Mark interviews those military people or the Navy people, trust him. Well, I trust him at least. Yeah.
Wise choice.
Now, this is interesting. And speaking of awards, several years ago, I decided that I was completely disinterested in, quote, accolades of men, unquote, which led to my decision to throw away all of my NASA awards.
Yep.
Except my little gold statue.
He was decorated. This is a NASA employee. who was
Convenient.
deep.
Yeah, you didn't even need to say that. Because you could work at NASA without having NASA rewards, I imagine.
How
Well,
was it
I
not
guess-
verified?
Unless if you're saying you've worked there a long time, you probably get some sort of award for being there for a certain period of time, I'd have thought.
He looked
right?
like the average guy who NASA would employ. He looks like the type of guy NASA would love to
So-
employ.
Your typical sheeple that you can
Yeah.
hurt.
So what happened to him to change to blow this whistle?
Well, he just revealed that obviously the data is not
Yeah,
accurate.
why? What happened?
Go and watch the interview. It's 2 hours long. Quite exciting when you just hear and
You're not going to get rid of me that quickly.
No, I mean before you go to bed or something. You have to do it now. But I'm just saying, it's all there
Who-
for you to see.
We watched
You
this
can't
before.
summarise
posted this-
You posted this before, Kimo. Everyone watched it before. It's the guy that stole the name, right? Is this the guy that stole the name of the guy who got shot?
Yes.
Yeah, he got debunked. Remember, there's an expose video where it shows the whole story, and we've been through this whole entire story before, like 2 years ago.
Have we? I've missed this, but it does look like there was something a couple of years ago. It doesn't look like this is new.
Well,
Yeah,
he talks about
from
the
beginning-
Mars missions. So how new are the Mars missions?
2 years ago, you posted the same
The
guy,
video.
and then we
the
figured out
vid-
that he had the same name as the guy that died. And then somebody really looked into it, and I want to say there was a video or there's some trail.
Post the expose. So
Yeah,
we can
video
debunk
that-
the debunk.
100%. This
Yeah,
is
that's
damage
before.
control. It's okay.
Guys,
It was,
Um,
I'm telling you,
I don't know if
we
you're still-
went through the whole thing, and then you dropped it like you do everything else that gets completely debunked. And then now
I
2
don't
years
know-
later, you brought it back up.
I don't know if
Damage
this will help,
control
but the
V.
video that Spurs uploaded does say when it was live streamed.
When was it? Was?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I'm not
this
in
is
front
a
of the
new
computer right
video,
now.
but I think he's been around before. You know, I think he's. You know, I'm sure this is a recent interview, but I think he's said pretty much the same stuff in interviews before. I'm thinking.
Well, he's given great detail of how it works. He's broken it down. He's given the flat earthers great insight what happens at NASA, what we were looking for. And, well, I'm satisfied that we have a whistleblower that you've said, where are the whistleblowers? Not one, nobody ever speaks about it. No employee come out of that building. Now we have someone who went in the building, worked there, came out of the building, and is now whistleblowing. But either way you want to
If
look
he
at it,
truly is a whistleblower, I wish he would have, been more forward thinking about it and gotten more information and data like that could actually.
What evidence does he have to present for his whistleblowing?
Yeah.
what's the
Instead of just stories.
It's absolutely rubbish. I mean, what he's done, because he's got a web page here. This is for the doubters and naysayers. Posted on November the 13th, 2017. Was a picture of him in cold weather gear in a tent. Could be absolutely anywhere. There's a picture of him and another guy apparently from NASA called NASA Mike. Doesn't tell us his actual name, just NASA Mike. And this is them at Discovery Station Marco McMurdo Station, Antarctica. Well, it could be that. I don't know. And this is probably recognizable. But I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
he had an interview before where what happened was, this is his story. He didn't really work for NASA. He went to Antarctica as an assistant about 14, 15 years ago.
Right.
And he got an opportunity to go help out doing something, and he joined someone, I forget who. He went and did it, and then that's his only association, I think, with anything to do with NASA, is that one of the people that he was assisting or something might have been sent by NASA or something. He wasn't actually a NASA. And his debunking, I'm a little bit fuzzy on this, but I want to say his claim, his expose, his thing he's revealing was, it's something like, we didn't ever, I can't remember, but it's one of these things like, we didn't ever need to look to the stars to figure out where to go, or we never went past a certain spot or something. It was one of these kind of things where you're just like, it's non-evidence evidence. I can't quite remember. You know who interviewed him? There was a guy in FE that used to do lots of stuff on CG and green screens. I think his name was Flat Screen, or do you know what I'm talking about? Flat on the Plane, or plane something.
Jake on the Plane.
He would do this. He would break down the CG stuff in a lot of detail. He's the one that would do the boxing stuff originally. He did all this stuff where he said, "Look, there's boxes." Of course, we know why that is now. And he had all these videos.
Rob Skiba.
No, but it's a guy named like Flat on the Plane, or
right. Paul on the Plane.
Anyway, so it was 2 years ago. All this was 2 years ago.
I posted a news source going into a little bit more detail about him, and I guess his full name is Wesley David Beverly, and Beverly's not even spelled the same as this David Beverly Sr., and it lists that he's only survived by his wife, no children. He can't be a senior. Nothing adds up here.
That's because you can't put two and two together. And that's why we're
The
here.
name could
Maybe he just added the senior just because he was getting old.
What, after he died? Maybe.
there's a coincidence. The name could be a coincidence. That's theoretically possible.
So what is
But I
this guy?
remember- He doesn't
Desperation
claim to
would
be
be.
an NASA employee, really. He just claims to have gone to Antarctica like 20 years ago.
What's the claim of this guy, though, Scott? What is he claiming?
God, he went to Antarctica, and something about the trip to Antarctica revealed to him the truth about the flat Earth at the time, and it was something dumb. It was like we didn't need to use compasses, or we used, it was something like that. Like I never once saw a compass being used to navigate, but I can't remember. It had that kind of quality to it, where you're like, well, not only does that not mean anything in and of itself, it's just such a silly thing. It's just a non-argument. But
Right.
I can't quite remember. It was an interview with the guy that does the CGI. I wish I could remember his name.
Matt
Robert
Powerland?
No, it was a guy. His name was like Flat on the Plane or something like that. Plane on the Flat. And he would do what he would do is he would break down the CGI he saw in all the NASA videos. So he would go into lots of detail about the green screening. And he's the guy that originally would show us, here, let me show you how if you take these images into like forensic video software, you can see the artifacting. And he would show the artifacting. And that was one of the first times people started seeing the squares around things inside of the JPEG compression. And he would make a big deal about the square around the moon and some of the Apollo footage. Okay, so
Yeah,
this was
shit
2
fishy.
years ago, and he was the one that really broke that open in terms of like it being an idea. I can't quite remember his name though.
I remember the guy you're talking about though.
You remember him?
Yeah,
I remember the video
he
where they
was a bit-
found a
He'd be
square
on-
around
he'd
the
be on
moon.
screen too. This guy would be on screen. He's kind of a heavy sick.
Yeah, he was a bit pudgy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
don't-
guy.
yeah. I don't remember his name though.
Sounds fishy, guys. Sounds fishy.
Yeah, and all his evidence of him working at NASA is like him playing guitar, him in with the kids, with some kids in the jungle. You know what I mean?
So basically, like Chris Hatfield.
There's just nothing that associates any of this with
100%, yeah.
NASA at all.
Jeez.
He had a partner that was being interviewed with him, another NASA employee, who said that she overheard she said the Apollo, she worked at NASA as a temp for a week, and she said when she was there as a temp, she found proof that Apollo was fake, and her proof was she overheard as somebody was in the hallway, one person was walking away from another, someone looked back over the shoulder and said, well yeah, plus we faked the Apollo missions, and then kept walking.
Yeah,
And-
I've heard that story before.
Yeah, that was his partner that he was in when he was being double interviewed with her during the interview I saw, and that was her proof that Apollo was fake. And someone pointed out that like couldn't that have been them, having fun with the idea that said a lot. And then she's like, no, this was it. They were serious.
I mean, look this is what
You
he's
have to be there,
posted
Scott.
as evidence that he worked at NASA. These photos, look. I mean,
Why would somebody lie and say they've worked at NASA? They know they're going to be
Why
called
would they
out.
lie?
I
Why
think
would
he
they
did
lie?
probably work there in some way, but I think he's trying to make his part seem more important than it
To
was.
you, what does working for NASA mean? What do they have to do to work for NASA?
They have to get paid by NASA.
Right.
Apparently, he worked at the Goddard Space Flight Center as a systems admin, info system security.
Oh, nice.
Apparently.
Apparently,
claim.
yes. Thank you, Bio. So again, look, I did say it was massive this morning, and obviously, yeah, the damage control reach will have to come in. Yes, we understand that, but it's difficult to be a flat earther, and he obviously would have given up a salary to come out and say, "Look, I'm going with Jesus because obviously I can't take the money with me to heaven. What is the point?"
No, he switched jobs to be an IT manager, help desk support, and he's been doing that since
Ooh.
2007. Apparently.
Nice. IT. So obviously he would have had all the programs, he would have seen all the data and said, hold on, this doesn't
No,
match.
not what he did
Well, I
as a
don't
system
know.
admin.
We're just
No.
guessing. But
Ideally,
Well, I know
though,
you did that.
Chemo, when he was
have you
going to
looked him
turn
up
on
at all?
them, he would have been armed with more evidence.
exactly.
Have you looked him up at all, Chemo? Because I am, and
I
it's been
trust,
pretty quick.
just like you trust NASA, I trust the Flat Earth brothers. Why would they lie? They've got him in an interview. You can see
don't
their
read.
faces. You can see they're being honest. They're not hiding their faces. They're not they're talking openly. If you want to contact the Flat Earth brothers, they're right here, right now, there for you to speak to. They're not hiding like your NASA employees. So this is, if you want to do any more digging, that's up to you. Dig away.
Well, I'm obviously
it's
going to verify
interesting.
some claims.
I guess you could do it. Yeah.
I don't take anything for face value. If someone tells me a particular thing that may not make sense, I'm going to do my own research. Is that not plausible? Like, Shouldn't everyone do that?
Well, do the research then. Find out if he's a whistleblower or not.
Right. That's exactly what I'm doing. I found his LinkedIn
Get an interview
page.
with him. If the Flat Earth Brothers can do it, why can't you do it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't act on things that I'm unaware of.
Because he won't want to talk to people who are going to tell him that he's full of shit.
But I'm saying you can really ask him, where did you work? I mean, Veet should be onto him straight away, speaking to him. He's there, made a recent interview. He's speaking about the Mars thing, that it's all a hoax, that you just believe it. So ask him, why is he saying this? Like you ask us. Not a big deal. Get him on the show. He hasn't died. He's still around.
Get him in here now.
Just a side note,
I
fight
agree,
the
we
Flat
need to
Earth.
find
Did you see the girl, the young girl you had on yesterday? I mean, the show, it's just getting terrible. Yeah, this is just getting terrible. I mean, he's just got this young person on there and he's not even bothered. So you want to check that out. Quite funny.
Who's this?
You'll link it, please.
Yeah, I'll link it. But just, I don't know why he even bothers now.
Just sad.
Fight the Flat Earth. He had like a young kid. I don't know if they were like, I think they said they were 16. But
apparently his wife was a resource analyst at NASA as well.
Whoa!
Apparently.
Whoa, that's huge. 2 NASA employees.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
It's massive.
She doesn't speak about conspiracies though.
No, I'm not saying that she does. I'm not saying she does, but
right,
that's
it's not
massive.
She doesn't partake.
Okay,
but it does make sense. It gives more credence to him working at NASA.
Exactly.
If his wife worked at NASA.
Anyway, this is Fight the Flat Earth last night. I don't know why. It's just the kid ripping him. It could be a voice changer though, but I don't know. You see, he complains about talking to children, and he's there talking to children. So.
Did the girl say she was 16 on his show?
I don't know if they were 16 or not. I can't remember what. They didn't really get clear on the age.
I mean, this is where Flat Earth is. That's your best Flat Earther, a 16-year-old girl.
The kid said, oh, Craig went on Facebook and begged that person to come on. So he's really looking for flat earthers.
Wow, where are they all, Chemo? Where are they all?
I mean, they're just living their lives, really. That's why I say, the few of us that are left here to discuss this, that's not everyone's cup of tea, basically. And they don't want to sit here for hours and be abused, muted, booted, threatened, shut down, not being able to express their points in full. I mean, if we're lying or if we're wrong, it's a mistake, then whatever we say, you should be like, whatever. Not get so, upset about this situation. I mean, we're supposed to be flat earthers. We're supposed to be dumb, morons, don't know what we're talking about. But people get so upset that that tells me something. Like when Veet is trying to damage control. I was like, why on earth would you do that? Why would you go to that length? Damage control when we've already got the guy speaking. Plain and clear.
What damage control are you referring
to? Why would you lie?
What kind of damage control are you referring to? Because I don't think I do any damage control. I think what happens usually is that we like it when they have things.
Your mic's fucked up.
Breaking up, Veet. You need to refresh.
Start insulting us, or when they start being obnoxious or rude. That's when people start to get upset. But when they're polite and they're just talking and having weird ideas, then that's cool. Everyone loves that.
Polite again.
I mean, BioJewel is doing an experiment. He's that passionate about it. How's the Cavendish coming along, BioJewel?
I mean, it's like
do I gotta post it for YouTube?
Light as a Cheshire cat.
Like you guys need a wake-up call or something. Have you been outside, Veet, and spoke to the flat earthers? They want to rip heads. They're not here to have a nice, polite discussion. So tell me about gas pressure then. What is it? Is it gravity? Okay, yeah, I understand. There's a force that we can't demonstrate. Okay, so it just is. Is that the kind of conversation you want?
Why would they want to rip someone's head off just over an idea? Come on.
They want to, not literal rip heads off. They are so angry with the opposition, have lied. And then obviously
that's probably why they upset people, is if they act like they want to rip someone's head off.
Mike's too bad, Veach. I can't do this with you. Mike is
Yeah, well, that's why they
I can't even hear what you say.
That when you act that way, that's when you're going to make people upset.
All I heard was when you act that way, you make people upset.
You
were talking over him the whole time.
That's what makes Clovers upset.
Did anybody hear that?
No, you guys were both talking over him.
When they act like they want to rip your head off, they're going to make you upset. So when you say, why are Globers upset? That's why.
No.
Who's ripping heads off?
That's a result of having the discussion and then realizing these people are not being genuine and honest, right? So they're thinking, right. I mean, you've heard Brian, you've heard Denmark, you've heard Nathan, obviously, you've heard Q, you've heard a lot of the flat earth, you've heard Percent, you've heard Jeremy. These guys are really, they're upset here. They're angry that you're lying to them in their face.
No one's happy with Jeremy at the moment, Chemo. Haven't you heard the latest?
I love Jeremy.
Flatties are unhappy with him.
No, Jeremy's doing the right thing. Let him do his thing.
Everyone's unhappy with him doing this.
Nah, Jeremy top 5.
Yeah, Jeremy's up there. He knows what
he
he's
is
doing.
top 5, but the flatties are not impressed that he's going ahead with this
Jeremy knows what he's doing. I know.
I feel like Shania Twain when it comes to Jeremy. He impressed me much.
Well, he's top 5, definitely up there. He got the data out of Bob, and now he's actually, he's causing some waves in the flat Earth debate, isn't he?
What is Jeremy trying to prove?
Subsolar speed, ground speed, solar point.
Yeah.
We don't know how far places are apart, do we?
We do.
Yeah, we do.
What are you talking about? Some of these places, Brian, are a hyper marathoner's single half-day run away. You don't think that a guy can figure out how far he's ran that runs all day, every day?
You think you get an accurate measurement over a couple 100 yards?
It's not a couple of 100 yards, like 50 or 100 miles.
And you think you get an accurate measurement?
Yeah, well, do you think he wouldn't, Brian?
Over 100 miles? We're only talking about like 8. We're only talking about like a mile every 4 seconds or so.
You only need distance and time. That's all you need. You don't need anything more complicated than that, Brian.
When do you drive anywhere, Brian, in the UK, and the distance is totally different to what you expected it to be?
Well, than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that I've been expected, but
like you plug in. Have you ever plugged in a location on your GPS and it said it was like 50 miles away, and you ended up having to drive like 500 miles?
No, I can't say I have. No, but I thought he was talking about from continent to continent.
No, not necessarily.
Oh,
No,
right.
it could be just two cities apart that are on the same line of latitude.
Part of what he was talking about is something about the sun moving faster or slower over water, such as the ocean. He brought that up. I don't think he was making the claim. I think he was relaying that information from the original claimer. I think that was part of what he's trying to do as well.
He's buying.
Yeah, I haven't heard Jeremy claim that.
Use everything further.
There is the notion that the sun travels faster, like the souther you get, the more south you get.
Yeah, which would mean that a tracking mount on a telescope would not be able to keep up with the sun if it's moving faster, right?
But no claim as to it actually going faster over water.
But
Flat Earther did say that apparently yesterday when he decided.
It's 15 degrees per hour for every spot on the Earth. An equatorial mount telescope with a drive works perfectly on every location on the Earth, right? Which means that the sun is never traveling faster.
Guess we'll see.
I mean, he's getting a lot of hate, Chemo. Were you in his corner, being that you're one of the top 5 flatties as well?
Is what? Sorry, Jeremy's doing the right thing, which is showing the ball earthers that their model is wrong. Jeremy's going to be right. He's going to show that you guys are wrong. Yeah, it's just made up. Jeremy wants actual activity, practical activity. And once he gets the results, he's going to show that he's correct.
Kima, do you understand what he's doing? No matter what it proves or what it supports, do you understand what he's doing?
Yeah, so he's checking out the ground speed of the sun. Yes, going around the ball or the plate. checking if it's correct, if it matches up.
Right. So what I'm saying is, what information would support a flat Earth? What information would support a globe Earth?
It's not to do with the shape. It's not to do with the shape. He said. To do with
You just said a ball or a plane. That's shapes. So do you understand?
Yeah, but he's saying that one of them can't work on a flat Earth.
Agreed. That's what I'm saying. What results would support a flat Earth? What results would support a sphere?
It will work. Whatever happens, it will be working on the flat Earth because the Earth is flat.
You're assuming what the conclusion is. I'm just asking you. Do you understand what the results would look like on each type of shape?
Yeah. So on the ball, you'd get what your model says, the same speed. Obviously, on a flat plane, you get different speeds.
Yep.
Okay. Just want to establish it now. That's all.
Yeah, same speeds at the tropics, whereas on flat Earth, you should expect a faster speed at Capricorn.
And the equator, to be fair.
Rocket science, right? Rocket science.
The equator doesn't matter because even in the globe Earth model, it's faster than Cancer.
Yeah, but I think it enlarges.
No, but your question was to distinguish between the different models. So the only one that would really matter would be the speed of Capricorn.
I mean, forgetting about this, not only is the speed of the subsolar point all fucked up, the circumference of the path on the flat Earth in relation to the radius is completely fucked up. Doesn't work at all on a flat Earth.
How so?
Well, for example, if we say that the circumference of the equator on the flat pizza Earth is 25,000 miles, right? You divide that by pi, and you get a diameter like roughly 8,000 miles, which means that the radius to the North Pole is 4,000 miles, which would mean that on the flat Earth, if the equator is 25,000 miles, that means on the flat Earth, the distance from the equator to the North Pole is 4,000 miles. But in reality, 4,000 miles only takes you from the equator. If you go from Ecuador, from Quito, Ecuador, it only takes you to Toronto. That's the same meridian, roughly. It'll take you only to Toronto. It doesn't get you anywhere near the North Pole. You still have thousands of miles left to go. So it can't be 4,000 miles. But then if we use the correct distance, then the equator becomes huge, and this only gets even worse for the Tropic of Capricorn, because now the circumference of the flat Earth would have to be like 50,000 miles.
Problem is doing it. Who's going to do it? When is he going to do it? I think he needs to be about it more.
Well, he's doing it soon. He's gone out. He's asked people, "Can you tell me where you are? Give me your locations." He's getting the nerds here to put in the work from chemo.
I mean, I don't know. All flat earthers agree that the sun goes around the North Pole, around a circle, and then that's all you need to know. And then it doesn't work. Because to claim that we don't know the distance from the North Pole to the equator, or the circumference of the equator, it's just ridiculous.
Very quiet percentage. Very quiet.
What's that?
You're very quiet. Did you hear what Jake said?
Yeah, not this last part, but I heard him before, and he said divide by pi. And
right. You agree with that calculation, right?
Well, why would you just divide by pi? Wouldn't it be pi r? To get the circumference.
Well, if the claim is that the flat Earth equator is 25,000 miles in circumference, and then you divide that by pi, that gives you a diameter from one end of the flat Earth equator to the other of 8,000 miles, roughly, which would mean that the distance from the equator to the North Pole would be, would be the radius, which would be, the diameter divided by 2, right? So it'd be 4,000 miles. So if the equator is 25,000 miles on the flat Earth, then the distance from the equator to the North Pole would have to be 4,000 miles.
I don't get it. Because diameter is 2r, right?
Right. So what R value gives you 25,000? Solve for it. 2 pi R equals 25,000. What's the R value in that equation?
12.5.
Huh?
You're forgetting to divide by pi.
No. Divide by pi.
Oh,
And divide by
yeah. I don't want to do the calculation then.
It's roughly 4,000 miles. It's roughly 4,000 miles.
Yeah, 3980.
Yeah.
Okay. The point
You
is
don't
that
need to do
when you do it right,
calculations percentage. Just get the nerds to do it, right? They're all here waiting with their little calculators.
It's the flat Earth way.
Right.
Well,
But
even
then
these
if you
nerds
say,
can do it
but then if
fine
you
ahead.
say, oh well, we don't really know the value of the equator, but but we do know the distance from the equator to the North Pole because you can practically drive it. I mean, people do the Pan American Highway, and they frickin' people do that every summer, and they go from Dead Horse, Alaska, which is within the Arctic Circle, and they drive all the way down, across Panama, across the Panama Canal. They take a boat across the Amazon, right? And so people know how far that distance is, and it sure as hell isn't 4,000 miles, right?
What if I possess someone to call a place dead?
60. So it's 6,200. It's 6,200. So if we use the globe Earth value of the equator to the North Pole, which is 6,200 miles, then now all of a sudden that means the diameter of the flat Earth equator is 12,000 miles. You multiply that by pi, and you've got like a 40,000 mile equator. And you would think that some boat captains would have noticed that the Earth equator is like twice as big as it's stated to be, right? Someone would have noticed that.
So yeah,
and then if you take it out to the Tropic of Capricorn, the Tropic of Capricorn now circumference would be like 60,000 miles.
So the math wouldn't make sense if you're presupposing these two things and applying it to like a flat Earth. The number one, that the equator's distance is, what they say it is in the globe Earth conception. And number two, that you can actually that the North Pole is where they say it is. 'Cause frankly, I haven't seen any photos of.
It doesn't matter where it is. It's the center. It's the place where the sun does circles around you, right? And there's lots of cities that are within the Arctic Circle that people, or not cities really, but towns, places that are occupied by humans all year round, where they see certain times of year the sun goes around them in a circle, which means they must be pretty close to the center of the flat Earth, right?
True. Yeah, but where is it when it's straight overhead? Like when the Polaris is straight overhead.
What does that do? Who cares?
We can that you're value.
You know that you're near the center of the flat Earth when you see the sun for 24 hours do circles around you, right?
Yeah, but doesn't mean you're at the North Pole.
It doesn't matter. You're close enough to it.
Not necessarily. Like that depends on how high the sun is and stuff like that. Ideally, we would be right under Polaris. Have like a.
Why does it matter how far the sun is?
So we know where the North Pole is. And I guess that's the whole point of Jeremy, trying to get people's latitudes and stuff so they could see the no shadow time and stuff and measure the ground speed to confirm this distance at the equator.
Yeah.
And stuff. Because there's a lot of water there.
Well,
so who knows?
Someone in northern Finland can call somebody that's living in like Barrow, Alaska, right? And say, hey, what direction is the sun for you right now? And they can compare notes, right? And then they can get an idea of how far they are from the center of the flat Earth.
Idea.
Because at one point, one person is going to say, oh, the sun is to the north right now. And the other person will say, oh, it's to the south for me right now. Or actually, they would both see it. They would both see it north at some point, right?
What if it's not the same sun, Jake? Then what?
Are you saying that there could be a second sun?
We don't know, do we? No one's ever followed the sun. I said that to Jeremy. Has anyone tracked the sun the entire way? And he said that's a good.
Yes, we do know. We've never ever seen a second sun, ever. Nobody has ever seen that.
You don't know that they spray the skies. spray the skies, Gem, for a hiding something.
There was that one video of the second son, remember? Riley posted a video, remember?
Yeah. And then where's Lemon Bread? Well, that's not true. You got sun dogs and what does he say?
Yeah. No, I'm not saying multiple sons. I'm saying, is the son the same son? Same son?
Yes.
How do you know?
Because there's no reason to believe that it disappears.
It's got the same sunspots. It's got the same sunspots. It's got the same sunspots for all observers on the Earth at the same time.
It's a good way to put it too, yeah. It has the same features, yeah.
Well,
you can tell by the craters, Spurs.
Jeremy has to think about these things. Not me, I'm not doing it.
I know. I mean, the flat Earth is supposed to be zetetic, right? Now you guys are talking about like magic suns and second suns. I mean, that's not very zetetic.
Yeah, but the sun
never seen a second sun.
Would be considered magic because it's up there hovering. Isn't that magic to you anyway?
No.
How do you explain the sun and the moon just hovering in the sky like that?
Well, like gravity and orbital.
Well, you know gravity's not a force until BioJewel brings his experiment.
Oh, fuck yeah. I've been waiting to send this GIF again.
So you can't invoke gravity. How does the sun and moon stay up there? It's magic.
Yeah, it's magic. It's magic.
Yeah, but you're quick to say we do magic when you're the ones who were doing magic first.
Yeah, it's magic.
Well, definitely.
So we don't have gravity now until BioJewel does its experiment. You better hurry up, BioJewel, because I'm floating
It's no longer zetetic. Now it's just magic.
I like that, Queen. That's why
it's unknowable.
That's why I mean, what's... Go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what's so zetetic about just saying something is magic and unknowable? That's not very zetetic.
I didn't say it's magic. I'm saying you're calling what we're describing as magic. And on your model, there is magic. How does the sun, how do all the things do what they do? That's magic. You don't fly off the earth. That's magic.
Yeah.
Gravity.
Gravity. That's there you go. That is magic. A made-up force to explain how the water and people stay on the ball.
To give chemo a hobby of pretending to be to give chemo and percentage a hobby of pretending to be flat earthers. Well, that's why they invented gravity.
Well, you know, I mean, you can say you pretend all you like, but when we convince the next generation, that's when obviously eyes raise. Yes, it's not about me; it's about your argument and being able to present that, so we can tell the next generation if what you say is true or not.
Right, the next generation.
Yeah, so whether you believe I'm a real flat earther or not, it's what we will say to the next generation that is going to...
The next generation who will be able to, you know, take tourist flights to space and potentially stay in... They'll be able to stay in, like, orbital hotels, and then they'll be able to believe in the flat Earth.
I've just posted a video here. There's a 16-year-old arguing our arguments. If you don't get your act together... So it's not about me... It's about the next generation when we... Yeah. Exactly.
You've been talking about this stuff, Chemo, for so long now.
And look, we've got...
Claiming, it's all over for the globe. Nobody's gonna... And next year, no one's going to believe in the globe. It's going to be... The globe is dead. It's coffins for the globe.
Well,
Chemo, when I was 13, I would have argued for a hollow earth. You want to know why? Because when you're a teenager, you're fucking retarded. And as you get older, you start learning things and things start making sense. And then you grow out of those stupid ideas.
But young people are now listening to the arguments, Jake and Bio. That's the problem that you guys are having.
I just told you, when I was 13, I would have argued for the hollow earth. I just told you that when I was 13. I would have argued for the hollow earth.
I doubt that.
Chemo, which survey did you use?
Chemo, have you noticed there's not a lot of young people in the flat earth community?
Have you been 24/7?
But it really isn't. I mean, there's a few.
24/7.
Quite a few of them are, you know, old fucks that should know better, like Brian in here.
Well, Jake, go 24/7. They have young people every single day. I don't know about the Earth is not a globe. Constantly.
Yeah, a bunch of old people attacking children. Yeah, it sounds like a good time to go there and experience that. You're right.
How is it an attack? Where's the attack?
Where's the attack? I've been in there a few times just listening, and I've heard kids come in, and then they literally do attack them. They ask them for why they believe a certain thing, and they literally attack that. And then they tell them about.
They ask them why do they believe. They say because my teacher said, and they say where's the evidence? They say I don't have any, and they become flat earthers. Jake, this happens now all the time when you're in here, constantly. Remember, the kids are not allowed in here, Jake, so you won't see that. That's why they go 24/7, and they become globers.
Bullshit, chemo.
It's got to be 18, Jake, so you won't see how easily and quickly change minds just like that.
Yeah, it's easy to change a kid's mind about fucking anything, chemo.
Well, I don't know why they grow up.
I don't know why you're touting this. I don't know why you're touting this as something that's good. Oh, I changed the mind of a fucking teenager. It's not that difficult. You do realize that, right?
Oh, it is difficult. Some of the kids are really difficult.
But wouldn't you agree? Teenagers are easier to convince of something, whether it's true or not, something,
not really,
than it is adults.
No. If you give them the critical mind, they don't just believe anything. They're not about to believe Santa Claus again when they've just realised it's not true.
So you're saying that it's easier,
and they're going to believe chemo?
You're saying that it's easier to convince adults of something contrary to what they already believe?
When you say kid, I'm talking about a 16-year-old or teenager.
Yeah, teenager.
It's not easy to convince them of something like a ghost or... They only go with the glow because it's what they've been told as a child, like since they were 5.
How do you know, chemo?
How do I know what? Your mic's very low.
Is it? I'm sorry.
Blurred, yeah, turn yourself up.
Mic is very low. We are trying to do a professional show here. If you could turn it up a little bit, that would be much appreciated.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so you had a question.
Just got lower.
He's lower.
Just got lower.
Come a little bit closer.
I'm trying. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, that's better.
Thank you.
You had a question for chemo?
No, I'm just wondering what surveys or polls he's using to make these proclamations that the children are listening to him more closely and so forth. And why would they listen to chemo in the first place?
Well, Splurge, you're new here, but chemo just pretends to believe.
You could ask the same question to Bio or whoever it was that said, basically adults are more skeptical.
Do you think it's going to be that hard to find a study on presenting arguments and convincing someone of something based on age? Do you really think it's going to be difficult to find?
Dude, have you seen some of these videos where the power of suggestion or whatever, where you have people in a waiting room, adults in a waiting room,
and someone stands up, and then everyone else starts saying
it's surprisingly easy.
No, I get that. What I'm saying is, the younger you are, the easier it is to convince you of something. And I don't think that's...
I mean, if you go down to children, yeah, but if you have teenagers, people capable of independent thought, they reached at least that level of maturity. I don't know if you have evidence to support your claim.
All right.
What do you...
5 minutes won't be difficult.
Yeah, what do you determine as independent thought? What if someone uses independent thought and they still come to the conclusion that it's fear? Would you say they thought independently, or?
Well, we're not even talking about the shape of the earth or whatever. We're just talking about people.
Yeah, but I'm just using that as an example. What if someone uses independent thought and skeptibility, and they still come to a conclusion that doesn't agree with yours? Would you say they thought independently? Would you accept that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
We're idiots, man.
You see what I'm saying? So if they don't agree with you?
No, but that's not what we're talking about, man. It seems like you jumped in. The conversation that was happening was whether or not it'd be easier to
easily influenced.
Yeah,
now
adults compared to teenagers.
Yeah, and you said you expect teenagers to use independent thought and whatnot. Now, my question is,
the teenagers are capable, if they're old enough to not be,
okay,
because a lot of kids are affected by their parents.
How do you know they're capable of independent thought? Is it only if they come to a conclusion that agrees with you, or?
No, let's say they're not looking to any adults or their parents for answers or something like that. You could tell that they're thinking about it themselves. You could see them kind of pondering the thing. They're little hamster running. You can kind of see those those expressions, those physical facial features or what have you.
I understand. So the conclusion they come to doesn't matter as long as they came to it of their own volition, basically, right?
Well, the conclusion they come to is what we're talking about. Whether or not that conclusion, like whether or not they're skeptical of it or they're instantly believing it, you know?
Okay. What if they are...
I posted two links. Two links, confirming what I had claimed. So, sorry, go ahead.
Great. Jill jumps through some more hoops. We'll have them converted by lunchtime.
Okay, but I mean, is it the ends or the means that matter more here, percentage? That's what I'm trying to figure out. If I'm skeptical and I don't believe what people tell me, you know, and I question everything, but I still come to the conclusion that the Earth is a sphere, would you say I thought independently?
No. Yeah, if you were skeptical and you actually, you know, took the evidence, and people have different, you know, thresholds. Okay. So of course you would have independently thought of it.
No, that's
and
not possible.
And I came to the conclusion that the Earth is a sphere. Okay,
that's not
but
possible.
Chemo doesn't seem to.
Not possible.
Okay, why not?
Because everything you're doing is based on it being a globe. So you're not going out there independently wiping away everything you've ever known and going out there and figuring and saying,
hang on.
Figure out from scratch. You're saying, well, you know, from what I've been told, this is what should work. So it's not independent.
So that's independent thought. Erasing your whole worldview and everything you've ever known and starting from scratch.
Start from scratch,
right,
and don't be influenced by anything, and just figure it out for yourself.
I shouldn't be influenced by flat Earth or globe Earth, all right?
No,
so I'm starting
none
from
of that.
scratch.
None of that. You should go out there, trying to find the
truth. That would be the ideal.
Okay. So I go out there, do my independent investigation and research.
That's what independent is that nobody else is influencing.
Hang on. Let me just set the premise. I go out there, do my investigation, research experiments with a blank mind, with no preconceptions of anything, and I still come to the conclusion the Earth is a sphere. Did I think independently?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no. How did you come to that conclusion?
No. By doing experiments and stuff, you know, going out there and looking at the world. I don't know.
Exactly. All your experiments will be based on the way that it was used to be done. That's not independent. What's your new way that you're going to figure out?
So is it only independent if
Chemo, he said he's looking at the evidence, like ideally he's looking at it objectively and looking at the definitive evidence. He's disregarding, you know, he's giving it the appropriate weight that it should have and stuff. So if he comes to that conclusion, he came to it independently.
Not his evidence.
Chemo doesn't agree. Chemo feels it's only independent if I come to the conclusion the Earth is flat. Is that right, Chemo?
No, I'm saying you said I'm going to do an experiment, and that's going to give me the conclusion that it's a ball. And I'm saying, well, no, that's still not independent, because what is the experiment you've done? Is it a biased experiment to give you the answer that you want? Is it, you know, so that's what we're looking at here. You're still holding on to, well, we should do with the pendulum or Cavendish. Your thoughts. You know, you haven't.
Are you saying he's likely to have done the experiment incorrectly, Spurs?
What is the experiment?
What are you saying, Chemo?
What is the
experiment? Whatever experiment he's done shows him that the Earth is a globe. Are you saying he's done it wrong?
Yeah, I mean, can someone independently come to the wrong conclusion?
I'm asking Spurs.
Well, I'm asking Stack.
Go ahead.
Spurs is being a hypocrite.
Could you possibly independently come to the wrong conclusion, Stack?
You could, but whether or not my conclusion is right or wrong, I still thought independently, right? 'Cause that's what I'm trying to understand. Is it the conclusion I come to that matters, or the way I got there? What determines whether or not I thought
you got there dictates what your conclusion is.
Yeah, but now this is the issue, percentage. You say it's the way I got there. Chemo says it's the conclusion I get to.
I think he's going to think of it in reverse. If you get to the right conclusion, that means your methodology would have been sound, you know?
Okay. So
maybe Percentage and Chemo need to go off to a side room and get their stories straight. Do you think that might be what needs to happen?
We're not the same person.
I haven't finished my point either, that's why. I'm letting Percent make his
Go ahead,
point. Jump to conclusion. Okay, so you're saying that you're going to conduct a method and come up with the conclusion that the Earth is a ball. But you haven't said what the method is. You could just say, well, I go out there, my method is I look, and I see it's a ball, therefore it's a ball. Now, obviously, that's not a method to go out and figure these things out. Okay, is it?
Yeah, Chemo.
repeatable?
It's a hypothetical. I'm not trying to add too much to it because it convolutes it and makes it a bit too difficult to work with. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, right? I just want to know, when do you guys consider it independent thought? Is it the steps I take to get to my conclusion, or is my conclusion what determines whether or not I've thought independently? If I do the same things you do, Chemo, the exact same things you do to figure out whatever the truth is, but I come to the conclusion the Earth is a sphere, would you have said I thought independently or not?
Simple answer is it's both, because the steps lead to the destination.
Okay. So what if I take the okay. It's both. But if I did the same things you do, percentage, and I held the view the Earth is flat, would you call me a free thinker? Would you say I'm open-minded? I've taken everything into consideration?
Hell yeah.
Okay. Chemo, would you?
Oh, wow.
I mean, like I said, it sounds like you're looking for a biased way of coming to the...
This is not balanced.
It's biased. You're saying all your statement is that if I go out there, do my method, and I come to the conclusion it's a ball, is that independent?
Yeah. If I do the exact same things you do every day, Chemo, to figure out the truth, whether it's host shows, come on Discord and monologue, go to flat Earth conventions. If I do the exact same things you do, but I still come to the conclusion the Earth is a sphere.
You need to go out in the real world, make real measurements, look at the horizon, find out if it's physical, find out if it's repeatable, things like that. It's practical. You got to do activity. I've been saying. Activity.
Yeah, which is what you do. So if I do all of that, but I still decide the Earth is a sphere, would you say I'm an independent
there you go.
free thinker?
Thank you very much.
No. Okay. Decide was the wrong word. I apologize. Can I take that word back,
facts,
please?
It's what you.
Chemo. Decide was the wrong word to use. I'm admitting that.
No, it's not.
If I do everything you do, no, it is. It isn't. I want to take that word away.
You can, but this is what I'm going to say. This is where your mind is.
That I used the wrong word. You can't really nail me to the fucking cross with that, Chemo. Yeah. I'm literally admitting I used the wrong word. You can't try and nail me to the cross now. That's a bit unfair, right? So, I decide the Earth is flat, but if I take all the evidence from performing the same activities you do, and the conclusion I reach is the Earth is a sphere, would you still call me an independent free thinker? Because I'm doing the exact same things you do.
Well, like I said, if you do the exact same things I do, which is test the world around you, experiment with things, and yes, you won't come to that conclusion.
Oh, wow.
Chemo, you mentioned that to do what you do, you'd have to take measurements of reality. What measurements have you taken, and can you present them?
No, I can't present them right now. I mean, if you look at Ranty's channel, you'll be able to find them. But I mean, they're there.
I'm not going to go out and prove your point. I'm asking for your...
I know. I'm just telling you what I've done. It's been seen. People have videos. I'm not going to bother to dig through it, but it's been seen. And we've hired boats. We've had P1000s, P900s.
I'm just wondering about your measurements. I'm not too interested in your methodology or equipment. Your measurements.
Yeah, so we were at a particular height, and there's a lighthouse that was not supposed to be.
What was your height?
That was at St. Bees, wasn't it? You did some measurements at St. Bees, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's been a long time, I haven't spoken about it in a while, and maybe we need to revisit that. But yeah, it's all out there.
It'd be great if you had the measurements. Yeah.
I know. Like
so
I
said,
he has specific measurements that he's got.
It's been a while, boy. We've moved on. I'm on to where gravity's not being a force now. But
was that not legitimate measurements?
We were talking about if you do what I do, right? So I've been out there.
Right, your measurements, yeah.
Been out there, and we measured the distance. We got the Google Earth distance to the lighthouse, the height of the observer, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's been seen, it's been documented. I don't need to show it right now. The point is, I can dig it out for you later. I haven't even got the time right now. But if you do what I do, things like that, yes, where you get the observer height, you get the radius of the Earth, you find out where the horizon is, object, how far it is behind, if you're supposed to see it or not, things like that. And then obviously, yeah, if you do what I do, and obviously what some of the other flat earthers are doing, then you won't come to the conclusion that the Earth is a sphere, or at least it's not what they tell us. You'd have to go with it's a bigger ball, Nate, a bigger ball, and then obviously how big of a ball. So yeah, not just sitting down discussing online. You actually have to go out there in the real world and look at the real situation, and then you can come to not a conclusion, but the actual facts of the matter.
I mean, they saw Ireland from England, Jill. Why are you not all over this?
We were very busy in the early days. This is what these guys are not aware of. But we were very, very busy. We were very, very active.
Because I'm not a lazy bitch like Chemo. What is it called? I'll go find it. It's fine.
Okay, but Chemo, it sounds like you saying if I take the steps you take, right, and I do the independent free thinking that you do,
I've just outlined,
I can only come to one conclusion. That's what you're saying. There's
well,
only
look,
one
hold on,
conclusion.
slow it down, because we're talking about the radius 3959. So I've just said to you, if you want to say the Earth is bigger, like the bigger ball, okay, then that's up to you. But what we've been told of 3959 is not cannot be shown to be true practically, because when you go out in the real world, those measurements do not match.
Okay,
they do.
So, but oh, sorry, man. Do you want to come in, Bio?
I'm just making sure his bullshit is challenged. They do, and go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you say that, but you haven't been out in the real world, okay, and made real measurement. You haven't hired a boat, as we did. You don't have a P1000, P900, as we did. You don't have the lasers GPS, as we did, okay? So you don't have any of those things, okay? We've done that. We've been out there, okay? So, obviously, if you're going to say that's not true, then just provide your evidence, and we can work with that.
I think your measurements are... I'm going to go on the assumption that your measurements are false until presented and looked over by a third party. How about that?
Anyway, are you saying they didn't see Ireland from England, Jill?
I have no information. I'm going to go on the assumption that the numbers that they used were not correct at the moment. But I have no information.
It's an old one, but look, it's not a big deal because, like I said, we move forward from that.
It was a huge deal. It was a huge
deal.
Back
then, it was a bit of a big deal, yes. But like I said, we're only talking about if you do what I do.
Jim's done a video on it.
I'm only talking about if you do what they said. If we do what you do.
Take a look.
And they forgot to mention that we've been out in the real world, not just sit online, Nate. Okay, we do activity, bio. What we're asking you to do is activity.
I don't know why you're telling me. I've done.
But have you done it, Chemo?
God, we've just been through it. Where's Kosher?
No, I'm talking about if you have you shown any videos on YouTube showing what you've done? Have you written any books that we can read to see what you have done in the past?
But I didn't put it on my channel because it's on Nathan's channel. It was on Anthony's channel.
No, your channel.
I didn't put it on my channel.
Why?
Because you didn't fucking want to, man. What does it matter?
It matters if you.
Are you arguing its
point? So how can
or the existence on his specific channel? Because the second
how can he prove his point if he doesn't have anything to back it?
I just told you it's on Nathan's channel. It's on Anthony's. Well, if he's still got it, Ranty's got some stuff that.
Why don't you have it on your channel?
Put it on my channel. It wasn't a big deal. They got it on their channel.
It was all over the internet. It was a huge deal. You could see Ireland from England. Wait.
No, I'm just talking about what he's saying about he knows this, he knows that, he knows this, he knows that, but he has nothing to back it up with except his words from his mouth, and that's it.
Seems like
except that's not true.
It does seem like that
at the moment. It is.
He's new, obviously. He's not aware of the history. It's fine, but like I said, we're only talking about what I've done or what you should do. You want to know what's going on. And yeah, we've been out there in the real world multiple times.
That if you undertake all the endeavors and activities Chemo does, and you go out there and do real world experiments and whatnot, you can only come to one conclusion. Do you agree with that percentage?
I think it's more of a philosophical question than we realize, because it kind of goes into the whole nature versus nurture thing. I think
you don't agree with Chemo. All right.
The first steps kind of lead to the next steps, and if you're going in the same exact steps, that means you have the same nature. That means like you are that person. That's what life is, right?
Well, because he's quite right there, where he's quite right. So, Nate, if you were to ask
all the different steps, all the things that happen, all the different choices. So, if you're going to have the same steps and choices in this specific thing, then you're going to have the same nature. You're going to have the same individual, basically.
So, Nate and Percent, what were your steps to understand the Earth is not a globe? So that's Nate. You've seen that my steps were to go out, ask questions, do activity, and I say, well, ask Percent what his steps were, and then we can, My
steps were different.
Your steps were different. That's the point.
We all get to our truths in different ways, So the steps we take don't really matter. All I wanted to know was what you guys determined free, independent thinking to be, and whether or not you care more about the conclusions people reach or how they get there. So percentages, he seems to care more about how people get to their conclusions, while for you, Kimo, you feel there's only one conclusion anyone's going to get to.
Definitive globe proof, right, Percent?
Oh yeah.
Right, so that's why the Earth is flat.
Wrong.
That's fine, but I just want to know, if I do what you guys do and I get to the conclusion the Earth is a sphere, would you guys still consider me an independent thinker or not?
Yes.
Yeah, you could independently be wrong.
You see what I'm saying? It's like you guys feel I'm not independent and correct unless I feel the Earth is flat.
Hold up. Independent and correct are two very different things. I think he's still got a bias
because he did say decide. He's got that in his conscious decide. I will decide what is. I know he said he didn't mean that, but that's basically how he's operating. I will decide the outcome. I will decide the conclusion.
Stop it. I used the wrong word there.
Yeah, Kimo, let sleeping dogs slide. But basically, what was more telling was how you said independent and correct and group them as if they're the same thing when they're not.
They're not the same thing, and I wasn't trying to make them out to be the same thing, but it seems to you being right matters. So being an independent free thinker is not enough now. There's another condition being added to all of this, which is, correctness of your conclusions, which is what you've added percentage, because
of course you have to be able to discern the evidence, right? You have to be able to examine it properly, judge definitive versus non-definitive, and stuff that has like validity and stuff that doesn't. If it's not able to be verified, then you hold it in a lot lower regard than stuff that you can verify, right? So again, it's a very personal thing. Everyone has their own personal threshold for skepticism versus gullibility, right?
Definitely. But I want to know, are you fine with people not agreeing with you on the shape of the Earth, but still having done their own independent research and experiments and coming to a quote-unquote correct conclusion, even though that conclusion doesn't agree with yours? Are you guys fine with that?
Yeah, I would be.
Is it that the conclusion can only be correct if they come to the same conclusion you come to?
I think it's both. So first off, they could, I'm fine with it if they independently, examine it and have a blank slate and stuff. If it's not affected by propaganda and indoctrination, then that's fucking awesome. But number two, if they're actually doing it with a critical mind and discerning the evidence properly, I feel like they can only come to one conclusion thus far, because there's no definitive evidence for the other one.
And that's what Kim was saying as well. Okay, I understand. So you guys feel if you do the right things, there's only one conclusion you can come to. At the end of the day, that's what you both say. There's no way to come to.
I'm not saying definitive evidence for the globe can never arise. It could in the future, but so far there is no definitive evidence for the globe. So it's an issue. They have a body of evidence, of circumstantial, corroborative evidence, but nothing definitive.
But we're not far off, percent. Don't you worry. BioDual is going to produce mass attracting mass in a vacuum, and there's going to be speculation from the flat earthers about the cause, which will not be me and BioDual's problem. Once we are able to show that there is no other cause,
don't use the word we. You're not doing a damn thing.
Once we're able to show, Bio, me and you here...
Don't use the word we. Me and you are not doing anything. I am. So let's get that straight.
We're doing an experiment.
Don't
now
say
I
we.
know
Don't say we. I'm gonna correct you every time. Don't say we.
Now Jeremy, he has an idea.
How big is the vacuum chamber, Bio?
What? What was that? I didn't hear your question.
How big is the vacuum chamber that you're doing this in?
Oh, it was going to be pretty sizable, but then someone showed me an apparatus where I can use a basically the torsion bar not being horizontal and balanced. It'll be an offset, which allows for a smaller chamber with the same torsion value. So it's going to be considerably smaller, making the vacuum less. So it's pretty badass.
How big?
But it's going to be I'm looking at cut by your size or whatever the fuck it's called, about 2 feet tall, and then about 6 inches in diameter. And it would be cylindrical. The original design was big and beefy, as well as rectangular shaped. So the structural integrity wasn't as good as the cylinder. And then once I saw that,
would it? The big one?
What? Yeah. The big one, it would be very difficult to even get to a vacuous kind of condition. But as well as that, it would be a tremendous amount of force given the surface area, as well as the integrity not being cylindrical. So it's just not as good. But I found a different design that I can do a cylinder.
So the bigger one would probably implode in on itself, or what?
I'm not sure. It's so the big one would have been, if you're looking at it and you can see the entire torsion bar, it would have been 36 inches wide to give a bigger torsion bar, and then 12 inches deep and 12 inches high. And then it would have been a PVC cylindrical PVC pipe to surround the wire, and that would have been 2 to 3 feet. So it would have been pretty big, and the surface area would have been huge.
So it would have been the same height, 2 feet high, but just a lot wider.
Right. So now so the original one was a big rectangular box plus a cylindrical pipe, and then the new one's going to be a cylindrical pipe that's slightly bigger, with no rectangular chamber. So the pump that I can get will be more effective, and the integrity of the entire thing will be safer.
It would be easier to have, a square one, because they could just get the fiberglass or whatever they use. But yeah.
Well, what I was looking at was acrylic, and if I could get 1 inch acrylic pretty easily, I probably would have pushed forward, but it's expensive as fuck. So I try to go with 1/2 inch, but I think 1/2 inch for that surface area to get to an acceptable condition, it probably would have fucked it up pretty bad. Probably
it would have been super expensive to get cylindrical 36 inches wide. So I understand.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Anything cylindrical acrylic is fucking crazy. But even at the size that I can do it now, that I think I can do it now, it's still I think it comes up to 120. But it's already kind of pre-made. I would just have to get caps and then drill a bit. But yeah, I think I saved $300 by seeing that style apparatus.
I wonder if you could 3D print the 6-inch cylindrical tube, basically.
I don't think you could for vacuous. I don't think you could for vacuous situation. Everything that I saw was acrylic being number one. You can get away with polycarbonate and maybe glass, but
I mean, can't you have isn't resin pretty hard?
For 3D printing, I don't know what material you can use, and I don't know how much sealing power there is, so I couldn't really speak on it. I would imagine it wouldn't be able to handle it, but who knows? My wife has a Cricut machine, so I think I'm going to try to find some plastic and then build the torsion bar, the offset one, with that Cricut.
A little disappointed. I was hoping you could make a bigger vacuum chamber and we could test out, propulsion at the same time.
I think for propulsion to satisfy flat earthers, it has to be fucking giant, because there are videos of a vacuum chamber, but they say it's too small and the expelled gas fills it up, so that's what it's pushing on. So you'd have to have a ginormous one to satisfy flat earthers. But I'll post a picture of the apparatus that I saw, and I won't build it 1-to-1. But what the idea I got from it was the cylinder part for the housing. There's a German experiment, or originated from Germany. but that'll be like the setup. So you can see the offset torsion bar rather than horizontal and balanced.
So we agree, Bio, if there is no movement, it's good night, globe Earth.
What if there's no movement?
No movement, no attraction.
No, it won't be like I do it once and no movement, and then that's it. I would have to make sure that the wire's not touching something. I would have to make sure that the wire.
Spend the rest of your life doing it, Bio. But
please interrupt me more. Yeah.
Chimo, what if there is movement? Are you cool with like assuming?
Oh
that
my
it's
gosh! If
gravity
there's
and not
movement,
electromagnetism?
if there's movement, we're done because they have a force.
Good night, flat Earth.
No, but then you'd be like assuming that it is gravity and not.
No assumption here. No, because we're doing science. Okay, so we're predicting the cause. We're manipulating that variable. We already know the cause is the atmosphere. Pressing on it. Once he removes that, there's going to be no movement. But if there is movement, then obviously it's the mass.
How do you know the cause is the atmosphere?
It doesn't move in a vacuum.
Yeah. So I'm saying, what if it continues moving?
In a vacuum?
Yeah.
Not going to move in a vacuum. I'm telling you.
You might be wrong.
Wow, this is the whole point. We've never ever seen it before, ever, never, in a vacuum. They reckon they've seen it. They've got the papers, they've got the scientists, but no observations. This is why BioJules is going to be the first person ever to show mass attracting mass in a vacuum. How big?
Well, again,
I won't be the first one to show it.
In a vacuum, not necessarily mass attracting mass. It could be electromagnetism or something else.
That's up to you.
I don't know why you're jumping to that conclusion.
Well, this is the beauty of this. This is why the method is so strong. If you think there is another cause to this effect, well, then manipulate that cause and show it to be true. But right now, we have a cause, which is the atmosphere, the pressure, the pressing on those balls. Obviously, you remove that press. Obviously, it's not going to move. And then, obviously, that shows Bio that there's no mass attracting mass.
But how do you distinguish between the two when electromagnetism is inherent in the object, which and the same goes for mass?
Well,
so within that apparatus I showed you in the picture, part of that is a Faraday cage on the inside. I think what they call it is the cup fergator. I think that's what they call the Faraday cage. But they do account for that.
That accounts for electromagnetic properties or fields from outside, but not from the object itself, and not from the apparatus itself.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that because...
Hold on, Kimo, shut the fuck up. People are trying to have real scientific, or at least what we think are scientific conversations. You don't need to derail. Just shut the fuck up, take a back seat. But yes, percentage. So what they're doing is putting a Faraday cage-like material in between the presumed cause. So they know when
the object in aluminum foil.
Right. I mean, you could do a number of things, but in what you can see in the picture, they put the Faraday cage outside of the small masses, but in front of the big masses. So that entire Faraday cage is between those. So even if it was some type of electromagnetism or another cause other than just straight mass, that would take care of it. So they know without it, it moves. So you introduce that Faraday cage in between all of that. And if it were electromagnetism, even if it's not perfect, you would get a less reading because it's being affected by that cage. But because you get the same reading, we know that electromagnetism isn't affecting it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I would wrap as much of the apparatus and the ball bearings or whatever masses you're using in aluminum foil.
Right. And one of those things that once it's set up here, I would love to take input and suggestions. My number one thing is having it set up with all the right material and then doing different types of masses. So I would do the classic steel balls. I have bowling balls. I'll use those, see what happens. But I also want to use frozen turkeys, shit like that, weird shit that has nothing to it's not like another metal. It's it
doesn't have to all be serious. You can fuck around with it.
Right. Exactly.
I'm interested to see what happens.